Hey guys, this is Coach KP, and I'm here with a special guest today, Raffaele Gianfrancesco.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, from Rhode Island, and he's very active in the community of spirituality. He recently started a business with neurofeedback. We're going to talk about that in the later part of this video. And he's a good friend and my soul brother. You know, sometimes when I think of Raffaele, I think of him as the Italian prophet because he's crossed this geographical boundaries, and he's in the United States. Every time I need support, I'm on the phone with him, and he's giving me these insights that are phenomenal, and that's where he gets his title of prophet from, and we're gonna go into that as well. So, Raffaele, welcome to this to my channel, and welcome to this interview. So would you like to share a little bit about how it was like, coming out of Italy at a young age, and some of your memories maybe that you have of Italy, and with your parents there, and all of that. I think that'd be a good place to start.
Yeah, so my early life was kind of broken up into different pieces. I was born here, but then we moved back to Italy, and we were supposed to stay there. And then my dad got offered a job, and he came back to America right before I started kindergarten. So I didn't really know English.
Oh, yeah, no English.
No English. Okay,
so how old were you at that point?
So 5 years old, getting ready to leave Italy again to come back to America. And so I got here, and I was the odd kid out.
Right off the bat.
Yeah, and it was beautiful in Italy because there were the rolling hills and the farms and the mountains and the sheep and the cows, and it was like you could run for miles and nobody would care what you were doing because it was a village and everybody knew what everybody was doing. Everybody was watching each other's kids. So it was just really close. And then we came to America, and my mom just had a lot of fear around, letting me have any freedom at all. So my life just, in a flash, just changed from complete freedom and heart openness to being in a land where I didn't understand the language, where people looked at me funny, where I was constricted to a tiny little postage stamp driveway to play in, a little yard, and it was tough. I felt like my whole life had just been flipped upside down, and it was just kind of one of the first traumas, the major traumas in my life that brought me to this journey.
Wow, yeah. I mean, at 5 years old, that's a very moldable age, right? So whatever direction your life goes at that point is kind of going to be setting pace for the rest of your life. So a crucial time to move to America, right?
Yeah.
So then you came you came into this country, and how did that then shape you? I know you said you had a little driveway, going from rolling hills to a smaller, smaller square footage for you to, because you have a big energy,
right.
and being in a confined space, that must have been really difficult. How about your friends? Did they treat you well, or what was going on with that dynamic?
So I kind of went inward when that happened.
Okay.
And so, when you're limited in what you can do and where you can go, I just started reading everything I could get my hands on because fortunately, it turned out to be a blessing that I didn't have English at first, because if you're bilingual, and you know this, it develops a part of your brain that doesn't get developed
otherwise.
So I just started reading everything I could get my hands on. I read through an entire encyclopedia, like A to Z, all the way through, and just wanted to learn everything I could about dinosaurs and asteroids, and just really, I loved learning, and so I went inward, so I became kind of a geek, kind of a nerd. One of the ways I was able to please my mom was by eating everything she made, so I started to get a little bigger. So now I was the chubby kid in school, and I got bullied, and I didn't really have friends, and I didn't really trust anybody, so I kind of had a friend here and there, but I see people that had these like lifelong friends that they've been buddying around since, and I never had that. Whether it was because I wasn't introduced to it or because I wasn't able to hold on to it. So I was always kind of that lone wolf.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think this is an experience that a lot of immigrant children children tend to have is this sense of isolation, at least until they get used to what America means and how kids behave here versus how kids were behaving back home and all that, right? So I've seen some of your pictures from your teenage and you're a good-looking dude, and you had these muscles, and I don't know. Can you talk to? You look like the ladies' man back then. What was going on with that? How did that transformation happen? I guess from the geek to that.
It's interesting. Italy was related to that too, because I went back to Italy again between 8th grade and high school for an entire summer.
Okay.
And for the entire summer, I was able to go and run in the hills and do all of that, and my days were filled with activity, and my joy didn't need to come from food anymore. So I dropped 20 pounds in Italy, okay? And I came back, and
this was before you were even 12 years old. All of this is happening.
Well, so it was between 8th grade and high school, so I think it was 14 going to 15.
Okay, 14. Okay, all right.
So yeah, so I just, when I got back from Italy, all of a sudden, all of the girls that didn't want to dance with me at the dances, were like looking at me differently, and I'm like, what the heck's different? Like, it's still me.
Yeah.
But I learned very early on that appearance matters. In America, appearance matters. So I said, all right, they want something to look at?
I'm going to give them a spectacle, right?
So I just started pumping iron. It was Arnold Schwarzenegger time.
Oh, yeah.
And I had this home gym, and I just, like, with the old plastic weights filled with sand, and you get the wrench to put the thing
I've seen those.
The old rickety bench, and I just started, like, lifting weights. And fortunately, I have a body that responds very well. Even at my age now, I'm 56. My body still responds very well to
strength
exercise, to strength training. I can build muscle very quickly. And so I just grew and grew and grew. I never did an enhancement drug in my life. I never did a steroid in my life. But, I mean, you saw the picture. I was
he's
really
jacked,
really big.
Yeah.
So yeah, and part of that too was it was a way to overcome the feeling of weakness of the traumas that I'd had in my life.
Okay.
You'll find that most people that do bodybuilding and strength training are trying to compensate for a lack of feeling of strength in themselves, and I know that was present for me.
So this journey inwards that you had as a child, between the age of say 5 and 20, could you think of a theme or a couple of themes that you had in your life that was sort of helping you cope with this transition, and then like kind of also giving you an identity? Could you think of some things that were giving you an identity at that point?
Yeah. So we'll start with the negative theme first.
Okay.
If I had to say there was a theme of my childhood, I'd say it was betrayal. Okay. I felt like I was betrayed when my life was taken away from me when I had to leave Italy. I felt like I was betrayed when I went to school. I went to Catholic school, and my first grade teacher was a nun. Was ancient and mean, and I was left-handed, which I think they say is a sign of creativity. Right?
Yeah.
So I would write with my left hand. I would eat lunch with, and when you're in Catholic school, you do everything with everybody all day long. You go to the bathroom all at the same time. You go around the big circular fountain and you wash your hands together. You eat lunch together, and you're all in the same room all day long. So I had ADD.
Okay.
So this was torture. So I was a difficult child. Okay.
Okay.
And so I would get beaten in school, and then I would go home and I would get beaten at home for getting beaten in school.
Oh man!
So I didn't trust anybody. I mean, the world was dangerous, and I mean, they literally would hit me on the hand with a ruler when I would use my left hand and tell you that's the devil's hand. In Latin, in Italian, sinistra is left.
I did not know that.
And it's the root of the word sinister.
It's sinister, right? Wow.
So they broke me of that.
So you were no longer at
No,
one
I'm
point
right-handed now. Well, I'm actually ambidextrous.
ambidextrous.
No, I'm
but,
ambidextrous.
wow, but
Yeah.
that was not out of free will. That you were forced that.
No.
Wow, that's a trauma in and of itself.
It was. It was.
Wow. Okay. So that was the negative theme.
Mhm.
Was betrayal, and then the positive theme, as you know, between the age of 5 and 20.
Self-sufficiency. And again, it started in an unhealthy way because I was very self-centered. I was very selfish. I was very about me, getting my needs met, very all first, second, third chakra stuff, always. Just like never got above here in terms of my energy level. Booze, sex, money, whatever it took to have a good time, to feel better. I wasn't athletic. I was terribly uncoordinated, so my sports career was another traumatic experience. Out in left field on farm team, you know, dreading the ball's going to be hit to me because, you know, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, it was just a matter of becoming self-sufficient, becoming an island. And while it wasn't probably best for my relationships, it was what my spirit needed to begin to heal within itself, because I spent a lot of my life looking outside of me for happiness. And that sounds like a contradiction, but a lot of people that are lone wolf types didn't start that way and didn't stay that way. There are parts of their life where they're reaching out, they're grasping, and then they'll attach to something, and that'll become a disappointment through betrayal. And then
so it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy that you attach to something that's unhealthy because there's something unhealthy going on because you're trying to cope with whatever's happening, and you don't have a better knowledge of that not being the correct way to go about things, but you continue doing that, and then you get the same results. Maybe in different ways, but you're getting similar results in your life. Right. Wow. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. So that's you know, that's between 5 and 20. You know, one of the things that Raffaele just said about self-sufficiency is, you know, we go about, a lot of us are going about our lives thinking we're self-sufficient, but we are really doing that in reaction to something that happened to us. And this is the one thing that I find in my coaching practice the hardest to get through to people is they think that being self-sufficient is all there is, and they'll do that at a detriment of their relationships. They'll do that at a detriment of their well-being. And until and unless you start to see that there's this self-sufficiency, and I'm not saying self-sufficiency is bad in all cases or as an umbrella statement, but a lot of us that have, and I'm speaking of you know, my experience as well of self-sufficiency, because I had this vow around not needing help from anyone, and I know for a fact that that's not a healthy mindset at this point looking back. So when we react to something and we try to make self-sufficiency our mantra, I think at some point we have to come to the realization that that may not be the best thing for us, even though that may be something that is working, semi-working for that matter, but that may not be sustainable, right?
So I define, I'm going to kind of take a little left turn.
Sure.
I define as an addiction as anything that we do to prevent us from feeling our real feelings, okay? And self-sufficiency can be an addiction, okay? Making money, being successful, being at the top of the heap can be an addiction, because as long as we're riding that wave, we don't have to feel what's underneath that is driving that. And that's kind of like that from 0 to 7 years old, you're basically in a hypnotized state. You're in theta, okay? And everything that goes into you gets permanently coded into your brain. Okay? So the way we're behaving right now, both of us, a lot of that was determined between 0 and 7 years old.
And that's scary, right? To think about if that goes unchecked, like how is something that we learned at 5 still governing our life at 65, right? That's crazy to think about that,
because
right?
the brain is getting wired at that point. So you're talking actual mechanical changes to your brain. When we make changes to our brain now with neuroplasticity, we're doing light rearranging all over the top. All right?
Light rearranging.
Not light, like mild.
Mild, okay,
Okay?
yeah.
When you're young like that, it's direct wiring that's occurring, and it starts down here. In the brainstem.
Okay.
Yes. And so there's survival right here,
Mhm.
okay? You can't rewrite those programs. You're going to do the same thing if your life is threatened, regardless of what you want to think you're going to do, okay?
Okay.
It's programmed, okay?
So when you're younger, you get programmed at that level.
You get programmed at that
Directed.
level. Fight, flight, freeze, fawn. There's a
Fawn.
fourth, fawn. The fawn response.
I have not. Okay, so
Okay,
I would
so-
like to hear a little
yeah,
bit. This is why I call him the Italian prophet. To see the
So-
insights that just poured out.
Right. So there's four things that can happen. I'm coming at you
Yeah,
because you're
yeah.
coming at me.
I know that very well.
I'm going to run because you're bigger than me and you're going to kick my butt. All right.
Right.
I don't know what to do and I'm going to freeze. Okay.
Mhm.
But if freezing doesn't work and you keep pushing at me, right, I might start to kind of like just fawn at you, like, hey,
Oh.
like pleading, like
People pleasing almost.
Yes.
So that's the fourth reaction.
That's the fourth reaction. And
Wow.
it's still a survival reaction. That's
It
why
is.
so many people pleasers are so deeply angry and unhappy
And anxious.
because they're still thinking, I'm going to die if I don't do this. Any one of those four responses is, if I don't do this, I'm going to die. If I don't fight, I'm going to die. If I don't flee, I'm going to die. If I don't freeze, I'm going to die. If I don't fawn, people please, whatever, I'm going to die.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow, that blew my mind, Raphael. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So, all right, so that's going to bring us to our next segment, where we're going to talk about mystery school, how we met, and how Raphael's journey into neurofeedback and neuroplasticity, as he talked about, and neurooptimal, and the rest of the things that we're going to discuss in the second part of this video. So I'm going to pause this for a little bit.